Welcome to another day of Recovery Monday here on 99.3 KKDI. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and we welcome you to this version, this edition. It's been a couple weeks, as last week we had the celebration of Labor Day. And, of course, my co-host, are you Lila or Coco today?
I'll be Lila today.
Okay. The beautiful Lila Stafford, she is an addiction specialist and counselor certified at Powell CDC. Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, who is one of the country's most outstanding experts and sought after for court cases for alcoholism. And my special guest today is a very, very special guest. For those of you who consistently listen to KKTI, it is, of course, Dr. Michael Brown, who was just on the radio previous to me. He was in Des Moines over the weekend for a seminar, well, not a seminar, for a conversation.
I preached Sunday mornings. I was just preaching. And then Sunday night, did a lecture on Can You Be Gay and Christian, had open mic Q&A. And then Saturday, we did a listener meet and greet. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and we had a good turnout for the meet and greet.
Yes, we did. And then we had a good packed house for Sunday night for the talk on Can You Be Gay and Christian. So real interest and great spirit from the folks.
Good. And is this your first time in Des Moines?
It could be. I remember being in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I remember my overseas trips better. Let's say if I was in Des Moines, it wasn't a lot of times before this, but okay. I'm on every day, so I'm connected either way.
Yeah, you are. Well, we have a beautiful community, and a lot of people think, pigs run free in the street and corn grows in the middle of the highway, but it's a beautiful community, and we're glad you got an opportunity to share it.
So it was unusual to have pigs running down the hotel corridors, the hallways?
Well, it depends on which place you stayed. Some come with pigs.
All right, got it.
Just to make people feel comfortable. And, of course, when we have the caucuses here, we let hundreds of pigs go on the street because those national news people wouldn't understand this is Iowa. Because if they didn't see pigs, they'd swear this is potato land of Idaho.
Yeah, and as a Jewish believer in Jesus, the pigs are a nice touch.
Yes.
Little sarcasm there.
Yes, I get it. All right, well, one of the things that, and I really appreciate you sharing this. I guess you share it openly and publicly anyway, but we really appreciate it. We have a very consolidated and close group of people in recovery here in town. I've been told by other people that this is a great city to get sober in, as we have more 12-step meetings in a week per capita than any other community in the country.
Wow.
So that either says we're really on top of it or we're really drunk, one or the other.
Uh-huh.
But Lila, of course, is a counselor with our only public detox, as well as recovery center, which is Powell. And this program is sponsored by those folks. So it was nice that you stuck around and told us your story today.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Lord had great mercy on me. 1971, I was a heroin shooting, LSD using hippie rock drummer, 16 years old, full of rebellion, caught up in the whole counterculture rock scene and wanting to be like the rock stars. And that was my life, getting high day and night. I was known as Drug Bear, Iron Man in my high school, because somehow the way my body was wired, I could take larger quantities of drugs than any of my friends. And being a foolish teenager, that became my identity. Playing with fire and going as far as I could to see how far I could go with this drug or that drug without overdosing. And whatever was available, LSD, mescaline, cocaine, heroin. Cocaine kind of came in towards the end. But my appetite for drugs was such that I was shooting heroin already at the age of 15 and started getting high at 14, even though I grew up in nice suburban Long Island, happily married home. My dad was the senior law assistant in the New York Supreme Court. So,
wow.
A lot of positive things going for me, but the culture, I got caught up in that, playing rock drums, hearing Jimi Hendrix when I was 13 years old in concert, just wanted to be like that. And then one thing really does lead to another.
Yeah.
Did your parents know that you were doing this?
Yeah, they found out at certain points. My dad was not as concerned about marijuana. He said to me that that's going to be legal one day, and if you end up doing, he warned me about it, but then said if you do it, better at home or something like that. So that's how liberal he was. But they found out at a certain point that I had been shooting heroin, and I would do it at most maybe 5 straight days because it would cost too much. My body would keep adjusting. So if it started at one price on Monday, by Friday it was literally 5 times the amount. So I'd switch over to other drugs. I was more or less addicted to the needle and to drugs. But when they found out about that, they were really upset. And then I convinced them that I'd stopped doing the really bad stuff. And they got used to the fact I was doing drugs on a certain level, but not the really bad stuff, which is strange to think about. So I lied, deceived about that. And then my father saw over a period of time that I was really becoming degenerate with drugs and was upset over that.
Yeah.
But, how do you handle it? My mom's 92. I remember a couple years ago talking to her, and she said, we didn't know what to do. We just didn't know what to do. It was hard. It was my 90-year-old mom at that time telling me, I was just tearing my heart out, that I put them through a lot of grief.
Do you have brothers and sisters? Were they into it as well?
I have one older sister, and yes, she was into those things at that time as well.
So it was you said your father was a lawyer?
Yeah, senior lawyer in the New York Supreme Court.
Whoa. So what kind of school did you go to?
Went to a regular high school.
Yeah.
And at a certain point in the midst of my drug days, we went on protest about certain school policies, and we had some other radicals in the school that worked with us, and we got our own school for 2 years called Safe School, which stands for Student and Faculty Education, because it was going to be a learning experience for everyone. And we had no formal classes or requirements.
Wow.
The only formal classes I had my last 2 years of high school were band and orchestra. Everyone would get to school around 8 and leave at 3. We left at noon, and it was kind of an anything-goes atmosphere. A few months into that, I got radically saved, and then that became my opportunity to witness to the kids in the school. 60 or 70 students out of 1,200 day and night, and to pray and be in the Word day and night. So something that was a real stupid mess for many ended up being redeemed for me.
How did that come about? I mean, you were doing drugs, and all of a sudden you were saved. Why were you even interested in that?
Well, I wasn't interested. I fought it and combated it. What happened was my 2 best friends played in a band together. So I was the drummer, one was the bass guitar player, one was the guitarist. And they liked 2 girls whose uncle was a pastor and whose dad had been praying for them for years. So it was that season, what we know as the Jesus Revolution, Jesus People movement, that began in '67, but by early '70s was really full-blown.
And this was the Jesus Christ Superstar and the Godspell.
Yeah, all of that stuff was happening at that time, but the phenomenon, the legitimate phenomenon was that around the world, thousands of hippies, radicals, rebels were getting dramatically converted and supernaturally drawn to the gospel. And here we are in traditional churches. So the girls started going to the church services just because the dad had been praying for them for years. And the church believed in the gifts of the Spirit and the power of God for today. So that made it a little different, kind of interesting. Even if you wanted to mock it, it was different. And it also taught a lot about end-time prophecy. So the book of Revelation, these things that were kind of interesting. So the guys started to go to the church to spend time with the girls and started telling me there's this really neat church and so on. And they'd talk about it, and they'd come back from a service and we'd get high together, and they say, yeah, there's going to be a beast that comes out of a bottomless pit with 7 heads and 10 horns. I'm like, it's in the Bible? Yeah. So we just think fascinating, cool, far out. In the terminology of the day, I wouldn't say fascinating. It would be cool. Wow, groovy. So anyway, little by little, they started to get more serious about God. Their lives started to change. At the same time, I remember watching my morals decline as I was shooting heroin more. I stole money from my own father.
Yeah.
I broke into some houses, sometimes for just to do something crazy and fun, but always just to get some extra cash or to have cash to help friends out with their habits and stuff. And I
That sounds
remember,
a little Charlie Manson-like.
yeah, well, not Charlie Manson in terms of violence and craziness, but just in terms of, I remember watching myself become more degenerate.
Yeah.
And
Did
I
it
was
bother you?
Yeah, I on the one hand it did, but on the other hand, you harden your heart. You get used to it. So I remember,
Rationalize.
when I first did drugs, I tried smoking pot. It had no effect on me. So I immediately went to smoking hash, a harder drug. That had no effect on me. It affected the others in the room. It didn't affect me. So very quickly I was doing ups, downs, then LSD. But then I said, I draw a line here. I did speed, but I saw some friends shooting speed. I said, I will never do that. I will never put a needle in my arm. But once I did, it was tremendously powerful, and the rush and all of that. But then I said, well, I'll do that, but I will never shoot heroin. When I started shooting heroin, I said, well, I'll shoot heroin, but I'll never become a junkie. I mean, now the drugs are more powerful, but then, and especially with my body the way it was, it would have taken me maybe a month of daily use to be fully addicted just to heroin. But then I remember at a point saying, so what if I become a junkie? So it bothered me, but there was also the so what atmosphere. So I went to the church finally to pull my friends out because I had it with them getting religious and moral. I said, you're tearing the band apart. We were going to be this great band. We had all these dreams and so on, foolishness. So the people there were very gracious to me, very loving towards me. I thought, well, if my friends, they have their religion, I have mine. Now I'm Jewish, right? I'm religious now. But the people in the church, small church, maybe 100 people there on a Sunday, they started praying for me. I didn't know it, but they began to pray, and the Holy Spirit made me miserable. I'm talking about, I boasted about my sin for 2 years. John Bunyan said, first we practice sin, then we defend it, then we boast about it. And that was the pattern in my own life. I boasted about my exploits. I boasted about stealing money from my father. I boasted about the amount of drugs I could take. It was my reputation. Now I'm feeling miserable for it. The things I'm boasting about yesterday, I'm feeling miserable about today. Finally, November 12th of 71, I agreed to go to another service. So I'd gone in August, now it's November. And at the end of the service, I don't remember what the pastor preached about. My friend nudged me like, you should go up, because he's giving the altar call to get saved. You should go up. And I thought, these old people, they're praying for me. I'm known as like the chief of sinners, worst sinner. Young lady wrote in her diary, Antichrist comes to church, my first service there, because she knew me from high school. And I went up to respond just because I thought they'll think some big thing happened and I'll just leave. I mean, to me, I was just being silly and let them get a rise out of it. The big sinner got saved. But as I prayed the prayer, remember we've been talking for months incessantly. As I prayed the prayer and said the words, I believe Jesus died for my sins and rose from the dead, I said, I actually believe this is true. Aww. But I said, well, what am I going to do now? Because I don't want to change. I'm not willing to change. I loved what I was doing. Despite the conviction of sin, I loved my sin. And I couldn't imagine living without drugs. Could not imagine it. Could not imagine going to a concert if I wasn't high. Could not imagine going through days without drugs, without putting a needle in my arm. Could not fathom enjoying life without it. And I said, God, when I go home, I'm shooting cocaine tonight. Because I just purchased a large quantity. At that point, I was dealing drugs all the time, and that's how I was making money. I just purchased a large quantity. It was the new drug in our town. And I said, when I go home, I'm shooting cocaine. If you don't want me to, I don't recommend this prayer, but it's just where I was. If you don't want me to, don't let it have any effect on me. So I went home. We had this powerful drug called PCP or angel dust. I smoked a whole joint of that, which would normally get you almost delirious. And then I shot a large quantity of cocaine, and nothing happened. Nothing. And I thought, okay, something's up here. And 5 weeks I struggled. I go to church one day, I shoot heroin the next. Back and forth struggle for 5 weeks. If I went to church, I didn't go high. So it was a back and forth. One day high, next day going to church. And finally, December 17th of 71, I couldn't wait to get to the service. I couldn't wait to show up. And as we sang these little ditty hymns, and I'm used to Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix, and now we're singing Make Me a Blessing and Power in the Blood, I got so overwhelmed with joy. And I realized this is different. This is different than drug high, music high, sports high, friendship high, doing good high. This is different than anything I experienced. This must be what they call the joy of the Lord. And at that moment, I had this internal vision. I saw myself covered with mud from head to toe. I saw God wash me clean, so the blood of Jesus cleansing me from head to toe, clothing me in these beautiful white robes, and now I was going back out and playing in the mud. And I said, that's it. I will never put a needle in my arm again, and was free from that day on.
Wow.
And you never struggled?
Barely.
Barely.
Very, very little. 2 days later, I realized I shouldn't get high at all. The struggle was absolutely minimal.
Dr. Michael Brown, yes, that Dr. Michael Brown is our guest in studio today for Recovering Monday. The Drug Bear, he was called back in those days. Saved by the Lord on the 17th day of December in 1971. More of his story and how it can impact you. What's tied up in the middle of his story that's meant for you? Have you already heard it? Maybe it's yet to come. We'll be back. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for listening. If I haven't told you lately, I love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Here, right now, live on KTIA, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
Another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
Get away from us, you needle credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit, you're our hero!
See 'em here, see 'em there. You got bad credit? We don't care.
Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com. Visit emetroford.com today.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. Welcome back. It is Recovery Monday on 99.3 KTIA. Welcome to this Monday. Of course, we have Lila Stafford in the studio. She is a certified addiction counselor with Powell CDC, Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat. Ryan is producing, and I'm J. Michael McCoy. We thank you for joining us here on this wonderful program. Very special guest today, Dr. Michael Brown. Yes, that Dr. Michael Brown. He has a Line of Fire, which is heard 2 to 3 o'clock every Monday through Friday right here on KTIA. And on many, many stations, there's a 2-hour block.
Yes, sir.
From 1 to 3 Central Time, but we only pick it up for 1 hour. So you in 1971, well, no, let's go back. So in 1968, you started using drugs.
69. I went to my first rock concert in 68, started getting high in 69.
What was your first rock concert?
Jimi Hendrix Experience at the New York Philharmonic, November of 1968. And it was an experience. Everything about it, the intensity of the volume, the type of the music. I didn't listen to the lyrics or really hear what was being said, but the clothing, the whole thing about we are radically, totally different. And as someone that was very much into music and played drums very seriously in those days, I realized how powerful music is.
Did you go to Woodstock?
No, we almost went. So I was 14 at that point. My older sister was going to go. We had a neighbor who was more progressive and was into rock music, and he was going to take us up there with my parents' permission. But then the word got out about the mud and the rain and the chaos and all that, so we never made it up there.
Do you regret that?
No, I don't regret it, because you never know what misstep might have happened. In other words, there was enough craziness in my life, and I came too close to overdosing, and there was so much promiscuity there. You never know what choice could have been made that could have had lasting negative impact. The only reason that I would, quote, regret it is if my life had been unscathed and I'd been as messed up as I was then and